Okay. Hey, Beth, Jim, Taylor, whoever ends up watching this. I'm going to break down your training program for the first 4 weeks. You can see up here it says LC basketball block one. When I say a block, it just refers to 4 to 6 weeks of a training program. I usually stop around 4 to 6 weeks because by that time the kids are ready for a new stimulus, something different to drive adaptation. So, this is something that I wanted to do to kind of bridge the gap a little bit of the gym and your room, quote unquote, to my room in the weight room, and how my room can help performance for the kids and all that sort of stuff. So this is something I'm going to hopefully do every single block to keep you guys in the loop and get feedback from you and use that feedback to ultimately get us as a staff to where we want to go, right? So breaking down your first block. Most strength coaches, I do, and most other strength coaches you maybe have been around, will always start their workouts, especially in season, with a power block or power exercises. And the simple reason for that is when you come in the weight room, you're going to be the most fresh when at the start of the session, right? And when we do power exercises, stuff that correlates to sprint speed, vertical jump, contact time, all that fun explosive type stuff, it needs to be done at the beginning because they're most fresh. Do a full workout and do a vertical jump compared to do a vertical jump before your heavy movements. Obviously, at the start, it's going to be better. So, the first exercise that we do here is a drop to a lateral bound to a vertical jump. Something I'm going to emphasize a little bit this year is more multi-directional plyos, getting the athletes moving in multiple directions because that's how we play sports. A lot of the weight room exercises that are pretty generic are linear, straightforward, straight backward, right? Because that's kind of the simple stuff. So I'm working on getting creative with getting them moving in multiple directions to make it a little bit more game-like and a little bit more specific to sports. So what this exercise looks like is, so it's a drop off of the bench, a lateral bound over, and a vertical jump up. That allows us to get 2 explosive contacts with the floor in multiple directions in 1 rep. So we're getting a lot of bang for our buck here. Obviously, I'm not as explosive as some of the athletes in the weight room, but you kind of get the point from the video. That will be paired with a trap bar jump. So we get an unweighted plyo with a loaded plyo to work all sorts of the spectrum there for power. This percentage here is actually a percentage of their 1 rep max for trap bar deadlift. So every athlete should have a trap bar deadlift 1 rep max. And based off a lot of the power research, we want to be in between about 20 to 50% of their 1 rep max if we're truly going to train power. So especially in jumping scenarios. So they're going to hold on to a trap bar and literally just do a vertical jump at 25% of their 1 rep max for trap bar deadlift. So that progresses from 25% to 30% to 35 to 40 as the weeks go on. So I like to teach the kids to think of their weight room program in terms of meals because everybody loves food, right? So our power exercises and our power block are going to be our appetizers. They're first, they're very important, but they kind of lead into our main course, our strength work, our meat and potatoes. And so in our strength block, it's going to be the things that you really typically think of when you think of strength training. It's the basics, the tried and true known things that make an athlete stronger or maintain their strength. So we have barbell bench press and dumbbell RDL. Big thing with in-season training is we got to keep volume low, intensity high. So keeping the reps and the sets low, but the weight is going to be high to keep that strength that we hopefully got in the off season. And if we weren't in there in the off season, maybe get a little bit stronger. It's very tough to get stronger in season, but we do our best with what we kind of have, especially in basketball where it's very cardiovascular based and you're playing multiple times a week and every practice is a lot. It's tough to get stronger, but I try to keep everything under 8 at the highest. Most of the time with our really heavy strength movements, I try to stay under 6. So 6 reps at 75% 1 rep max, 5 reps at 80% 1 rep max, down to 4, down to 3. Again, as we drop the reps, we increase the weight. easy way to overload the system as their body. So again, sticking along that theme of meals, right? Our strength work is our meat and potatoes, is our entree. The accessory is kind of the dessert. And not to say that the accessory block or the dessert is less important or more important than any other block. It's just kind of the fact that if you came in the weight room and you said, hey, you get to pick 2 or 3 movements for today, we're not going to get to everything. Hey, I'm going to pick the stuff at the top, basically. So our accessory block complements everything else we're doing. This is where I get a little bit sports specific and think about what basketball players need specifically. So we're going to do a goblet lateral lunge. So athletes are going to be holding a dumbbell here and do a lateral lunge, alternating side to side. I really love this exercise for the simple fact that it gets us in a multiple direction type scenario, which obviously is super important for basketball players. But also, it's very sports specific. They're going to hold a dumbbell here while moving in a lateral direction, which is going to emphasize keeping their posture tall, stacking their core, and keep them in a defensive-like position. So we're going to get multiple directional strength, which is obviously super important. We're going to teach them to push off their foot in a weighted scenario, which is going to help them play defense in multiple directions, pushing off the inside part of their foot. And even different than if I had them hold the weight between their legs, they would fold over and be in this hinged position. Well, that's not how we play defense, right? Play defense facing your person, sitting up tall, arms out wide, right? Like the typical defensive position. This is going to reiterate all of those things. So we kill multiple birds with one stone. The barbell bent over row doesn't really have a super deep explanation. Up here, we have an upper body push. So we need to balance it out 1-to-1 with an upper body pull. So simple there. This iron ankle straight leg hold is a very introductory level ankle exercise that we will do. It's basically a single leg calf raise with weight in their hand to overload that ankle joint and build up some general strength and capacity, which is obviously going to be super important as the season goes on, as a sprained ankle is probably the most common basketball exercise. Or injury, sorry, not exercise. Moving into that second day, again, we start with our power exercises. A depth jump to a box jump is a pretty simple exercise. They drop off of a bench, they land on the ground and pop up onto a box jump. This is super important to teach contact time, that explosive reactive strength off the ground. This plays a part into one of the metrics I researched in college and use a ton, which is called the RSI. RSI is legitimately an equation that gives a score where jump height is divided by ground contact time, and that gives us an explosive strength metric. So athletes will be on the bench. They will drop off here, land on the ground, and then jump up onto this box. They are coached legitimately. The floor is lava. Get off the ground as quickly as possible. Jump as high as possible. Simple as that. This 3D band lateral bound is a nice way to work on some of that lateral explosiveness. I wrap my entire body in there, cueing, pushing off the inside part of that foot. Anytime we want to go anywhere, if we're pushing off the outside part of our foot, we're not going anywhere. Get on the inside edge, use the leverage of the inside part of your foot, and push away. So that'll hopefully help us with some lateral explosiveness. As we work down into our strength block here, our meat and potatoes, again, stuff you would kind of imagine is in a strength training program, basic stuff. Assisted/resisted pull-ups. Most of the girls are going to have to be assisted. And then that's paired with a trap bar deadlift for some lower body strength. Down into block B, aka the accessory block, synonymous terms there. We get an eccentric calf raise. So this is literally just a calf raise that, like you would think about, except they have added tempo. So it's 3 seconds on the way down, a 2-second pause in the stretched position, and then 1 second on the way up. And what that's going to do for us is going to build a very durable, strong ankle joint that we're obviously going to need throughout the entire course of a basketball season. Really, really have to emphasize the tempo with the kids and make sure that they're adhering to that. because as soon as you start skipping out on the tempo, you're kind of losing the bang for the buck with the exercise that we get. And it's still effective, but not as effective. So really being diligent about coaching the tempo and making sure they're following that slow, controlled movement throughout the entire calf race. Along with that is a landmine RDL. This is a very coordination dominant movement, but we get a lot of things out of it. So we're going to get general ankle strength and ankle stability there. We're going to get a lot of glute and hip stability up in here, as well as hamstring strength. So we're kind of getting a lot in one exercise. And if you're not moving through the movement in a controlled manner, focusing on your stability and balance, you're going to look pretty wonky. So a great exercise that we get a lot out of, especially for a basketball player. The incline dumbbell bench press, nothing super scientific or crazy there other than the fact that up here we have a upper body pull. So when we come down here, we need a upper body push. Balance it out 1-to-1. So yeah, that's kind of the first block. Hopefully I didn't overwhelm in any regard. Hopefully I did a decent job at explaining why we're doing what we're doing and the organization as part of it. Would love any feedback you have. I want to get this out to you guys before the season starts. So if we need to make edits, we can make edits as soon as possible and hit the ground running when the season starts. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We'll get that taken care of and start off on the best foot possible. So hopefully this makes it to you well, and thanks for listening.